This is WEBurlesque.
This is Max Moxie.
This is Bert Schaefer.
This is Bella Fire.
Hi, this is Pistol Holiday, and we are listening to We Burlesque, Season 9.
Thank you. This is Viktor Devonne, and through the miracle of fiber optics, I get to talk to dazzling individuals from the field of burlesque, drag, and cabaret, and today is no exception. I'm very excited to bring to your ears Lady Peacock. Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello. I'm delighted to chat with you. We've been passing ships. We met, I believe, for the first time this past January at Fatlesque, and then we had a pleasure of sharing a stage again. Well, at least a the stage, if not the same night, at the Arizona Burlesque Festival, which was also lovely.
Yep.
Um, and I've been to Denver, but I've yet to see you on your own terms. Have you always been in Denver?
Yes, I actually grew up here. I went to undergrad in Boston. I went to graduate school in San Francisco, and then I came back to Colorado. And I live in the house that I grew up in. And we call it Lady Peacock's Home for Wayward Hussies. And all of the showgirls, it's kind of underground. I get these emails. Hey, man, I hear you got this place that I could stay at. And I'm like, yes, everybody's welcome at Lady Peacock's Home for Wayward Hussies. So yes, all
Aw,
the show people come and hang out with me when they're in
that's
town.
delightful. I love it. Yeah, there used to be a sort of a culture of showgirls and show people that would see each other in the same circles, and they would go around and they would have, I guess, the equivalent of like what those Hollywood up and coming actors would do, where they would all room together and go on auditions and share the same dress when they
Yeah,
when they
exactly.
would do it.
Well, people love hanging at my place because it's not a hotel. We got
Mm.
TV, we got a backyard with the a covered patio. They can smoke outside, whether they're smoking their weed or their regular cigarettes. I got two dogs. And so yes, I've had many people come through here.
Well, I must know about the dog. What kind of dogs do you have, and what are their names?
I have two little rescues.
Mm.
One is Precious, who is a Maltese Yorkie mix, but she's not very precious. She's a beastie. And
Well, it's
then,
ironic. We like
of
irony.
course, of course. And then we have Nella, who is a Lhasa poodle mix. So I have some designer mutts, basically.
Mm. Have you always been a dog person?
Yes, always. Since I was
Yeah.
little, always had some kind of smaller dog.
So you said you live in the same house that you grew up in. Did it
Hmm.
always live in, was it always in your family, or did you have to get it back when you moved back to Colorado, or was it
No,
inherited to you?
it's always been in my family. We moved to this house long ago in 1978 when I was 12. And
Okay.
so I went to middle school out here in Aurora, which is a suburb of Denver.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so my parents kept it up. They thought about, moving somewhere else, but every time they looked at places, they did not have the quality that this house has or the size of yard or whatever. So they just decided to keep maintaining it. And
Hmm.
so yeah, when they both passed, it's mine now, and I'm very lucky to have it.
Yeah. Did you make it all peacockified, or was it already pretty fancy?
Slowly but surely, like I bought my first, I'll call it my first big girl purchase, which
Hmm.
was an actual couch as opposed to a futon or something else that I would have had in an apartment. And then, yes, we have the Peacock Suite, which is actually used to be my little bedroom. So when you come stay here, you can stay in the Peacock Suite, or in the basement. We have a finished basement because when I came back to Denver, my mom had the basement finished. So I stayed with them for a bit. And so that's called Ava's Grotto because
Oh.
I had a burlesque friend who lived in Colorado Springs who would come up often. and her husband would stay down there, Evangeline Kane. And so another friend of mine painted the door, and it says Ava's Grotto, and it's yeah, people are like, "Ooh, what's down in the grotto?" That's basically also my burlesque room, meaning all the costumes are down
Yeah.
there and all of that.
The archives.
The
Yeah.
archives.
Yeah.
I'm no longer allowed to go to the thrift store. I have to go downstairs to go shopping because there's all the wow, look at these fabulous curtains that would make a great skirt, or wow, look at this or that I haven't used yet.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if this is true for other people, but I guess whatever flavor of neurodivergence that I have, when I go into a craft store to buy things without a purpose, I'm like, I need everything that's in here, but at home, so that I can then peruse and come up with things. Because I can't like imagine or create or say, oh, that'll be good for the future for some reason.
Right.
It's actually very, very difficult for me to sort of assume what I'll get into, partially because I sort of well, I mean, I've always had the sort of hobo clown as a jumping off point, but
Mm.
I have found that that has been recently re-embraced by a lot of folks. And so I'm finding that I'm doing that more in my life. And so I'm all for it. I've always wanted to incorporate that archetype as a dignified figure back again in our theater. But so many theme shows, so many one-offs, so many, oh my God,
Yeah.
reference points that we want to put on a flyer. It's sort of hard to keep up and sort of anticipate just to get
Yeah,
booked.
and that's how when I started, I was one with one troupe and then also another person that was producing weekly shows, monthly shows, and they had a theme, which was great for me as a newbie because it was like,
Hmm.
oh, let's see, let me focus on that. And that's how I created most of my acts that I have now.
Hmm.
Because there was a theme. There was a 1980s movies theme, and I'm like, huh, I don't know. And then I'm like, oh, yes, the 1989 Batman has a Prince soundtrack. Well, okay, let's do the Joker. So of course, though, because I do come from a theater background, I don't always like to play alone. So of course I have to invite others with me. So then we came up with Lady Peacock and her bevy of beauties.
Oh,
So the Joker act is me as the Joker, and then I have two batless go-go's that electrocute me, basically.
do you do it to electric chair?
We made an electric chair ish.
Uh-huh.
And then one of my friends partner, he was very much into the Joker, and he's like, "Oh, it was awesome. You did this and this and this, all the things about the Joker." And I'm like, "Good. I'm glad I got it all right because I'm not an aficionado." But then he goes, "But he never gets electrocuted." I'm like, "Well, the Prince song, Electric
Electric
Chair," and
chair.
he's like, "Oh, okay."
Well, it also like we're creating fan fiction on our own stages. Let's allow us to make our own decisions in that regard.
Yeah,
We don't
but I'm
strip. He
really
doesn't
glad
strip
that
a
I
lot
hit
either.
all the things because, like I said, I was not a Joker aficionado. I just like Prince music, and I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I can make this happen.
that's funny because that actually probably is how that and well, my father had well, so my father, I'm from the second marriage of my father's, and when my mother passed, how I got to know a bit about her as a young person because she passed when I was just under the age of 3 was looking at her vinyl collection, and
Mm.
she had an assortment of ostensibly lesbian folk music, which included a lot of famous names of the time. The only one who comes to mind right now is Holly Near, but there were quite a few, and three or four of them were named Chris something. And then she had her Madonna Like a Virgin, her Cyndi Lauper She's So Unusual, and her Prince 1999 and such like. And that showed like a sort of variation. And I remember also seeing the Dirty Mind cover of Prince and just going, so what's going on? Interesting. Interesting. And folks who are listening, just check that cover out. Just do a quick Google
Yeah.
search and you'll understand why maybe 7-year-old me was like,
Hmm.
interesting.
He posted videos of that time as well. He was a burlesquer himself. He just didn't know it on stage.
Well, I mean, and the names I just mentioned, you throw in David Bowie, you also throw in any of the other. She also had Color by Numbers by Culture Club. There clearly was an era that we today kind of don't quite live up to with a certain culture shock and
Right.
a certain group of individuals who say, "Oh no, we're back to traditional gender roles. We're back to oh." You're a boy wearing lipstick. There must be something arguable about you. I will say I frequently get insulted on the internet, but they don't quite know how to insult me. They're not sure what I am. So I
Yeah,
get a lot of "you'll never be a man and you'll never be a woman," which I think is sort of fascinating and oddly beautiful.
that's wild. Yes, I am a child of the 80s. I graduated from high school in 1984. Yes,
Okay,
I'm almost 60 years old.
that's quite
Uh,
all right.
but yes, Culture Clash, I went to three of their concerts. Um, the Eurythmics, three of their
Oh
concerts.
yeah, oh yeah.
So, yes, the gender was very fluid to me and to us of that generation. It wasn't as didn't feel as a big deal. It was just like, yeah, that's what my friend, she wore Boy George all the time.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
That was just style.
yeah, to school.
Yeah.
And she wasn't made fun of. It's just who she was.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I was born in '83, just so we can get that out of the way.
I
But
could be wrong. Same.
I'm celebrating 42, and I, as someone who was born in '83 and was alive at the beginning of a lot of folks not living to 42, I have sort of a specific self congratulatory behavior about it because I didn't expect to live to 42 necessarily. I was living in a time where I was told that the inklings of my sexuality or even just, civil unrest, that there was a good chance that I wouldn't make it. Either someone would kill me or that I would inevitably die of AIDS because that's how gay people died. And so to be an accidental queer elder, I think is actually very cool. And the concept of sort of ageism is sort of fascinating to me because particularly in the gay community, because we love older gay women. Like we think they're fabulous. We think they're amazing, but we're so quick to sort of be assholes about it at the same time. It's strange to me.
Well, it's crazy because especially like in the Latino culture too,
Mm,
the older I got, the more my mother and I look like sisters.
okay.
Because we age well, I guess. And so it's really bizarre to me to look back and go, wow, when I was 40, excuse me, when my mom was 40, she had a 20-year-old daughter. And I've
Hmm.
never had kids, but I couldn't even imagine at 40 having a grown child. That's a really, different thing, I think, with my generation. Not all of
Yeah.
us end up having kids or had them later in life, so they have little kids.
Hmm.
Um, so sometimes it's kind of wild to look back and think on that sort of dynamic too.
Yeah, I mean, my father had started having children at 18, and he
Yeah,
had quite a few over the
my
years with
mom and dad were 20. My mom was 20, my dad was 24. So,
yeah.
young parents.
Well, that was also, I think, a different expectation as well, a different lived experience was that you married your high school sweetheart. Um, Divorce was still, I mean, I wouldn't say it's necessarily controversial now, but I mean, in the last 100 years or so, certainly that has been a different thing for different people,
Yeah,
separating and
definitely.
remarrying. And
Yeah, my parents married out of college. They met
hmm
in college. Um, and probably stayed married. Even sometimes they maybe, they fought a lot.
yeah.
And for reasons they still stay together.
Were they
We're
Catholic?
Uh, yeah, they were brought up Catholic, but they
Oh.
were not Catholic. Yes, they went to Catholic school. So some of that I'm sure sort of registered in. I they only had me get my first communion just for, grandparents' sake. but it wasn't something that after that it was just like, okay, man, whatever. You can go do what you want to do, or it wasn't a big discussion in the house anymore.
Did
Um,
they, well, because you also dual path it. You're an entertainer and an academic, of which there are several in the field of burlesque. I don't know if
right,
everyone really considers that, but we come from all journeys and we come from all different stuff that we do during the daytime hours.
right.
Um, so which came first for you, the quest for knowledge or the quest for the spotlight?
Oh, the spotlight always.
Ah,
Always since I was little, 5 years old,
hmm.
singing, dancing, dancing. And then I was a dancer first. Um, but my mom said you got to take ballet, and I was like,
Uh,
oh, yeah, no way, man, I'm not taking ballet. I just want to take jazz. And she's like, nope. So I waited until I decided, okay, I'll take ballet. But then I was 12. And so she's like, all right. She drives me all the way downtown to Colorado Ballet, whatever academy. And there I am, a 12-year-old with little baby boobs and my little arms that couldn't quite go straight with these little 6-year-olds because I had to take a beginning class. I was like, oh man, this is crazy. So she got tired of driving me downtown, basically. So then she finally let me go to Lanny's dance studio or whatever here in the suburbs, and then I could take jazz,
mm.
which was cool. And so then through high school, I did do musical theater, and I was the dancer, the tap dancer, the dancer. Um, and high school was interesting because we definitely had sort of a hierarchy within our theater department. Like you weren't going
Sure.
to be leads until you were a senior or whatever. And I couldn't quite get that. And I would come home and cry, but I was the best one. I was the best one,
I know, but you hadn't paid your dues yet.
I hadn't paid my dues yet. And so, as well as, our director, Seth, Mr. Seth Rossman, he would just be like, it was a gut feeling. What do you mean, gut feeling that you cast that person? She wasn't very good. So I didn't get that. But I really sort of learned to suck it up at an early age that I wasn't always going to get every part. So when I went to college, to an art school,
Hmm.
I wasn't expecting to get any things right away. I knew that that's how this industry works, that you're not always going to get, and there's many different factors as I got older and I found out and started producing my own shows
Yeah.
too. Um, that there's so many different factors in getting cast in a play or a musical.
Yeah.
So I thank him for all of the childhood heartache of not getting the roles I thought I deserved because it just toughened me up.
And that hopefully created some empathy in you when you had to say no as well.
Exactly. Exactly. Uh after grad school
Mm.
I went to ACT at in San Francisco. And so after that I had my own theater company in San Francisco.
Oh,
Um
what were you doing?
Latina Theatre Lab.
Uh,
We wrote and performed satirical comedies. Hmm. Sounds like
yeah,
burlesque.
it's
Hmm.
coming together.
As I reflect, I go, okay, Chicano theater, street theater, experimental theater, and satirical comedy. I've been doing burlesque all my career, basically, you
Uh,
know, in some form, the commedia dell'arte. So for me, it was a natural progression, I think, obviously, to go into burlesque.
when did the burlesque with that phrase involved come into play?
Well, that came into play. I was doing research.
Hmm.
Research. I had come home after a party at a theater. Somebody had done some really beautiful face painting and body painting on me, and I got a new Mac, so I was taking all these cool pictures with these cool apps, and I was like, those photos look like a showgirl. And in San Francisco, when I lived in San Francisco, one woman shows and one person shows were a big thing. So I was like, one day maybe I'll write a show about a showgirl. And so that was like sort of put on the shelf.
Sure.
So then when I got a little bit more serious about it, I was like, okay, well, let's do some research. By this time I was back in Denver. And I was like, okay, so let's go. What does that mean? So, oh, Vivian Vavoom, who was like the godmother of burlesque, definitely here in Colorado, had her school. I'm like, okay, well, let me go take some class. So I started with the beginner class where we perform as a group and do a little strip tease as a group. And then I went on to take her full like 6 week course of creating your own act.
Hmm.
And so I did that,
What
and
year
it was
was this?
12 years ago.
Okay.
What is that? Um,
That's I mean it's the before time, so
yeah,
that's
yes,
substantial.
yep,
So that would at least be 2015, 2013 or so,
yep,
2012, 2015. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, started 12 years ago. So we had a recital. Like we always, she always would have like this real little recital, and I was like, okay, cool, I did that. And then I kept getting comments of how awesome, it was, etc. And they're like, can't believe you're a newbie. I said, I'm a newbie-ish in terms of I have over 20 years of performance experience, professional performance experience behind me as an
Right.
actor. So that's what you're seeing. But in terms of burlesque itself, yes, I'm a newbie.
It
Um,
takes years to be an overnight success.
yes, as in anything,
Absolutely.
as in
Absolutely.
as I watch the show people that come through here who are in the upper echelons, I still see them on their computers in the grind of, hey man, I'm coming to your town. Do you have a spot for me? Just like as an actor, I would be sending out my headshots and resumes.
Yeah.
All of these performance art forms, it's all very similar in terms of the daily grind of trying to get that next gig.
Hmm.
And I didn't go into it thinking, oh, I could do burlesque. It's another skill that I
Yeah.
knew I had to learn. Like,
Yeah.
when I was creating this first act of mine, I don't know how many times I was cussing and going crazy because I couldn't take the bra off right or whatever. It's just like, okay, I don't know how to do this, or it gets
Yeah.
stuck. You know, I was just like, okay. Um,
Were you a singer dancer or straight up uh,
um,
speaking roles?
both. Would call myself an actor who can carry a tune and
Okay.
great with movement. Um, but yes, I've gotten cast in musicals because people know that I can sing.
Hmm.
Um, for some reason, I have this bizarre phobia when I have to audition with singing, that all of a sudden you would think I can't hear the music right. I can't, I freak out. I freak out
Mm.
for the singing audition. And I'm assuming, or I know, no, I'm not assuming, I know. It's because when you sing, it's an extremely more vulnerable act to me and to
Sure.
most people than when you're just speaking a role. And that's how I explain it to my students because I teach younger students. Why are these characters singing? Well, it's because their emotions are so high. They're so sad, they must sing. They're so happy, they must sing. And so I know that becomes my phobia in the audition process. Once I'm
Hmm.
cast, I'm fine on stage, etc. But it's that
Hmm.
little freak out moment. um, so I don't do many musicals unless people know that I sing. Or when I do my experimental theater work, I sometimes create soundscapes that are more improvisational, etc. But again, that's because people know I'm a vocalist.
Yeah. Well, because I think depending on what type of musical, and it was sort of fascinating, is I had a conversation with one of my sisters, one who is also has done burlesque and has been in the field actually. She is technically a stepsister, but I don't really use the step unless I'm giving clarifying notes. But she and were having a conversation about vocalists because she's a very capable singer and she also has done she did a lot of community theater. We actually met in community theater when our parents happened to fall in love. We didn't know necessarily we were going to be siblings at one point, and we were talking about like a lot of like older school musicals, like your Rodgers and Hammerstein, your Leonard Bernstein, your Sondheim, early, getting into that. And then how so many songs that are, pop standards started in musical theater first. They're from a lot of unsuccessful shows first. And then they got either put into a later show because that song was a hit, like your Gershwins, your Cole Porters. Um, And a lot of these songs, if you really like break it down, yeah, they're sort of like uh ballads, or they're not really belting in a traditional sense. So they allow for a novelty voice. They allow for someone, you get your guys and dolls. Adelaide is a lead role, and Adelaide is not meant to be your, I don't know, Barbara Streisand per se, although Barbara Streisand can do a novelty voice as well. Like she's not meant to be like your, oh God, I can't even think of who's not doing that right now, because Broadway right now is embracing the novelty voice. You're Audra McDonald. You're not going to hire Audra McDonald to be Adelaide, but I would pay to watch it.
Yes.
And you're Mrs. Lovitz. You're, like all of these sort of like really great roles. And I was always afraid of going into after I hit puberty, essentially, because I did musical theater as a child. But I was always like these little bit things. I just wanted to hang out backstage. I wanted to hang out with my dad while he was playing Banquo, while he was playing the cab driver in Harvey, and just like be a part of it. I didn't necessarily want to like be the star.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
I've gotten over that, but
Well, I think the shift for me to go into acting happened in college because that musical theater program at Emerson College had that same hierarchy that I experienced in high school. And I was like, next, I'll go into acting instead. And I'm
yeah.
really glad I did because I learned how acting serves musical theater, how you should be acting within your songs, etc. But I've never pursued musical theater primarily. It's primarily been acting work that I
What
do.
do you teach directly? What is your area of expertise per se?
Um, I do acting and writing for performance for youth at risk specifically. When I can, I don't do it as much anymore. After
Okay.
COVID, one, I teach a very physical class, so that was kind of out, as well as just a lot of the nonprofits are no longer existing because I would teach after school programs, I would teach summer programs, I would teach programs that go into the regular schools as a supplement sort of.
Mhm.
um, and so yeah, and I primarily liked to work with middle school girls. And so when I did that, I would make sure that's what it was, girls with voice. And it didn't mean we were singing, it was mean giving a voice to what they had to say. And
Sure.
so, and those were mostly after school programs. So I could do that and say, nope, there's no boys in this class. Because, especially in middle school, those lovely ladies are different when they're around the boys. Uh,
Mm.
when the boys are observing them or whatever, they're not free to be themselves. And they're like, well, what if we write a boy's part? Who's going to play it? I said, you are.
Surprise. Yeah.
Surprise. And we're not going to go into what a political statement that is for a woman to play a male's role, but
It's
um,
not in it's not necessarily in like opera. I mean, I just one of my last guests was talking about trouser parts in opera and musical theater, because that was very common, because most men at a certain age don't go to that
yeah,
high end.
yeah,
But yes.
yeah. And so we would take regular fairy tales, we'd look
Okay.
at them, and then I'd say, okay, so let's write our own fairy tale based on this,
Sure.
And all of a sudden Hansel, and they would get pretty deep. I'd be like, oh, okay. Also of a sudden Hansel and Gretel are two homeless kids.
Hmm.
And this is not me pushing that on them. This is
No,
coming from their experience, and
it's
yeah,
using the text as a guide, because
right,
essentially, depending on
right.
which version of Hansel and Gretel you're reading, they are homeless kids.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
so I was lucky that at that time I worked with Aurora Theater Company, which would actually let me, their final performance could be at their smaller theater as opposed to in their giant auditorium during the sharing of all the after school programs where there's not necessarily people paying attention who are there to see all their kids do all their things, that we could make it a focused event.
Hmm.
Um, and then another way we did things too is I would use House on Mongo Street, which is a novel. And so I would break that up into different monologues and pieces. And it is primarily about Latina girls. And I primarily, for the most part, teach girls of color when I
Mm.
can. That's what I gravitate towards.
Sure.
Uh, And so we were able to tour it to the elementary schools. So that was awesome for the younger girls to see their big sisters doing Girls with Voice. And then when they got into middle school, oh, I want to do that after school program. So it was a great feeder program to get them going. But I don't do
Mm.
that as much anymore. And like I said, it doesn't, I don't have the resources anymore to have those kind of programs,
Well,
unfortunately.
we have major cuts to a lot of people due to our anti-DEI
Mhm.
um, administration that is
Mhm.
using that as a weapon, essentially. My husband is in academia. He is a college professor. So there are programs that are now in supposedly liberal progressive California that suddenly don't exist. And what I don't know if a lot of people, particularly those of privilege, are recognizing is that is a very calculated disinvitation. And we know because we're in the scene and we know we live in the margins in some degree as well, although of course those margins are intersectional. Um, that the weaponization of what is merit based. I'm like, no, but some people don't get their foot in the door, and that's fucked up, and that's bothersome. And now that's being used as a way of saying, oh, and we don't mean you. We're back to saying that again. We used to
Right.
just think it, but now we're back to saying it again.
And doing it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's one of the reasons that we get so I'll say passionate. I'll use the word passionate in burlesque about representation and about inclusion and about saying no, don't force people out, no, make sure it's inclusive. Oh, but not this way. Don't include that person because that person's not a safe person. We get very gatekeepy, as it were. But also sometimes gatekeeping is safety. And since this is one of the only fields where it's ours, we have no, government funding. We can get I use the word insular all the time. I'll say insular one more time. And but when we create our own shows, as you have, we get to also say, okay, but this is my group of friends, and I'm inviting these people to be a part of it, to express themselves, you know?
Right.
Hey, this is Viktor Devonne. I know it's difficult to strategize how to spend money and where that money should be going, and I thank the folks who have found some way to support financially this podcast. Massive love to the people on patreon.com/WeBurlesque. Thank you very much to Courtney Jones, Dottie Rebel, Charlotte Strudel, Paris Stilton, Luna Delay, Goosey Gander, Roxy Reverie, Faye Havoc, Tiffany Lane, Madam E, iRed, Shimmy LaRue, Curly Bright, Oliver Swisky, Sebastian Crane, Alex Collode, Bo Bridges, and Stormageddon. Love you very, 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 very much. If you would like to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/WeBurlesque, and I promise you those dollar bills go to servers, to advertising, to actual real costs, including WordPress, GoDaddy, and people who need my money. So thank you very, very much for help supporting the podcast, and thank you for amplifying the voices of those upon it. Love you very much. Hey, this is Viktor Devonne, and I like socks. I have always liked socks. In fact, I like socks so much that I don't match them because life is too short. Not because life is too short to find the other one that matches it, but because I want people to see how many socks I have. And I don't always take off my shoes, but when I take off my shoes, I want you to see at least 2 examples of the quality that I am drawn to. And that is why I shop at Foot Clothes. You can get 10% off your first order at footclothes.com and enjoy the luxury, style, and utter ridiculousness that is Foot Clothes. I encourage you to do so, and I want you to do it right now. And I want you to feel comfortable not having those socks match. Get into it. Feel right about it. Take pictures. Make some money off of it. I don't need to see it. You can send those the way that you need to. But you have fun out there. That's footclothes.com. Promo code Viktor Devonne, lowercase, all together.
when I was in San Francisco and I had my own theater company, Latina Theatre Lab, it was
Hmm.
very specific. And when we went into it, we didn't know there was a need for it because San Francisco is pretty small in terms of your acting community. Everybody knows everybody. Then when you get
I
into
see.
the Latino, Hispanic theater community, we really know who everybody is. So when we started it, we decided, okay, well, so what are we gonna do? We had okay, so let's do a showcase like they do in LA. And so we put out an audition thing. Latino women wanted bring your talent. I mean, there was over 50, 60 people that we had never seen in what we thought of as our Latino theater scene. Going, oh my goodness, and
Mm,
they were all talented.
yeah.
So there was obviously a need for this.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so our first show was basically sort of like a showcase, and we chose about I want to say 10 to 15 women to work with from that first audition. But our icon was Carmen Miranda. And
Mm,
looking at the industry, how the industry looks at Latina women when in commercially, because I worked a lot commercially in San Francisco, the audition would be for the Latina woman, the
yeah.
Latina maid, the Latina whatever, right? And so that's what we got tired of is that, okay, we're going to these auditions for this one part, and only one of us are going to get it. And
Yeah.
we're all so diverse within that.
Yeah.
Because we're all from different countries or ethnicities, etc. And so that was the impetus of starting this very specific theater company for women, specifically at that time in the 90s, and for Latinas specifically.
Hmm. Well,
And
you would
so,
hear, yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
so the first show, Carmen Miranda was our icon. The second show, the Virgin of Guadalupe was our icon. And so she came down to earth to check out what her daughters were doing. And, we have my character who was slim, trying to get skinny and doing my mantra to slim. And the other comadre saying, girl, eat some enchiladas. What's the matter with you? You're never going to fit into that dress. Um, as well as having sort of like there's a lot of within the Latino culture cross it over, make it over. So we had Estee Lydia, who was blonde and beautiful, doing her infomercial, trying to get the campesina who was working in the fields to be blonde and beautiful. And so
Mm,
we had a whole musical number, disco musical number, turn yourself around, time to cross over. So that was that one. And then the third show we started had to do with ranchera music. And it was
say
interesting.
again, which is it?
Ranchera music, which is a form of Mexican blues, basically. And
Oh, okay.
but what was interesting within the Latino community is that, and it's very specific to it's Mexican folk music, basically.
Okay.
So what's interesting though is that women from Argentina love ranchera music. Women from Puerto Rico love ranchera music. Like there's a reason why it's very family based.
Mm, hmm.
Remember, there's always a memory. I remember my mom used to play it when. Um,
Mm.
so we created a show around that, and that was not as heavy on the heavy duty political commentary. It was more personal stories within that. So.
Right. Well, because then you're also engaging in like the inherent diaspora of that as well. And because you're dealing with multi uh variants of the same culture or variants that of culture comparison that because very often Hispanic and Latino individuals in entertainment are sort of grouped together the same way that we just say Asian, the same
Yep.
way that we yeah. And or black for that matter. I mean, I remember there being some discussion about people calling Rihanna an African American when she first came out. And I'm like, well, actually, believe it or not everyone who is black. And and yet that relationship, I remember listening to Rita Moreno's memoir about when she was doing um parts, she was very often cast as an indigenous person, even though Puerto Rican, because there was darker skinned parts. There were just those would be, but light skin, darker skin parts, all the same. Not to be confused with, we'll say, the slave girls or the other exoticized um, parts. And very often, until she hit like really West Side Story, before then, and even West Side Story, they darkened her to make her
Yep.
look like the white people that they cast in those roles.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah,
Sometimes people like I went to undergrad in Boston. And so when I got there, they couldn't, you're not Italian, you're not Puerto Rican, and are you Middle Eastern? They couldn't quite big because they didn't know what Chicanos were, which is
yeah,
their Southwest Mexican Americans.
it was very big prominence here in Riverside, California.
Yeah,
Very, very, yeah.
and so when you're from a different part of the country, even
Hmm.
within nationally, if you're not familiar, you don't quite know where to place someone if they don't have a very specific look or thing that you think is that particular culture or whatever.
Sure.
And so and so we played a lot with that within my theater company. And so the current act that you've seen and that I'm playing a lot now is Maria the Maid.
Yeah,
And it is also kind of derived from one of the acts that we had with Latina Theatre Lab called the Marias. So we had the salsa police was going and trying to find out why all these people can't quite salsa right.
not the
Right.
salsa
So we had
police.
Maria from West Side Story. We had Maria Calles. We had Maria La Virgen. And then we had Maria the maid. And she turns and says, but my name's really Jennifer. So, um, my character for Maria the Maid for Burlesque is taken from that, is giving homage
Yes.
to that, and is looking at the stereotype
Hmm.
of the maid. It's
And
part of,
specifically that type of maid, because obviously we have the sexualized French maid, we
yes,
have a very, and the Latino Hispanic maid that we associate largely with home service or hotels or things like that, highly desexualized.
yes, highly desexualized, um, and almost invisible, or
Hmm. Hmm.
and there's another funny story to my maid lineage. In San Francisco, I was cast in a cop drama. I was a day player. I had one line, but I was the maid from the hotel. And I go and say something to the main character and unlock the door for her. But during that shoot, we had me up in the maid hotel getup, and it was time for lunch.
Mm.
And we take, it's a union gig, we're taking lunch when we take lunch. So I asked the costumer, do I have to get out of this? Because my scene is next. She's like, no, just be careful, don't get it messy. Well, our lunchtime was in the hotel in one of the ballrooms. And so I'm waiting in line with the other actors and the crew guys. And you can see that there's somebody watching me from the hotel because I'm actually wearing their uniforms.
Mm.
But I'm in line with all these other actors, and he keeps watching me because we're all getting in line to get our food. And I go sit down, and he comes up to the table, sort of looking at me like, "What are you doing?" Because I definitely look like one of his
Right.
Marias that he employs. And I looked at him and said, "I'm an actor. I'm playing a maid." And he's like, "Oh, sorry, sorry." Um, so that's why I sort of also
He was
have
gonna
this.
write you up. He was ready to go.
They write me up. But also, what's sort of crazy about that time is when that was also when I had started Latina Theatre Lab, and
Mm.
our mission statement was to eradicate limiting stereotypes, blah, blah, blah. But here I
Mm.
am playing this maid so that I can get a paycheck to pay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this back to my burlesque act
Of
of
course.
May is to pay homage to those women. Because even within my family, my grandmother was a maid, worked for um, richer people and cooked for them, etc. My
Mm.
dad's mother worked in a hospital as a cleaning lady in order to get health care for my dad.
Mm.
So it's looking at those stereotypes and blowing them up in your face and saying, here it is.
Yeah.
However, and that's taking Brechtian theater where you put that stereotype out and then you kind of pull the rug underneath it
Yes.
and say, here's this real person that exists in the world. And this is
Surprise. Yeah.
guys. And you do that to the audience too, where they're
Yeah.
like, and then they're like, oh, I got to think about that
Hmm.
in whatever thing they might think about that. Um, so that's where the impetus for this act came from. Um, was looking at that. So she goes from the domestic maid and she has the Karen with the voiceover telling her, don't forget to wah 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 wah. And she's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so the Karen leaves, and it's just sort of like, what does this maid fantasize about? Hmm, maybe being Maria in West Side Story. And so then I take that off and I have the purple West Side Story dress. What's under that layer? Oh, I take it off and it's actually her inner chola, who she is at the roots.
Yeah.
And so then that all comes off and she gets caught in the act by the Karen comes back home. What are you doing? Ah, how dare
What do you
you?
have to say for yourself? What do you say at the end of that?
Yeah, so the Karen says, what do you have to say for yourself? Because I'm half nude. Well, I am nude at that
Yeah.
point. And I say, ya me voy. I'm out of here. And so that's why those who speak Spanish, there's a huge applause, go crazy. And then I have a dedication at the end. There's a whole, depending on the venue, a whole slideshow that goes with it as well.
Oh, I've not seen this variant.
Yes,
What
also
what what
in
happens in the slideshow?
the slideshow when I am Maria the maid at the
Hmm.
beginning, we're seeing different visuals of different caretakers.
Mm.
Uh, Maids specifically, nannies taking,
Hmm.
black women taking care of white kids. There's a great photo of just like this woman's fancy woman's legs, and Maria's on, or one of the maid is on the floor scrubbing. And so there's different slides like that. And then when I'm Maria from West Side Story, I have a bunch of different photos of different movie stars,
Mm.
including all of our Latina stars as well.
Hmm.
And
Some who
then,
were not allowed to be Latina, including like Rita Hayworth, I'm sure. Like you.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly, yes,
Yeah.
that is, those are all there, as well as the ones that are very Latina.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and of course, Rita Moreno.
Yeah.
Uh, and then when I am the chola, you
Mm.
do
Hmm.
see photos of old school cholas, but we also see our more modern day warriors, AOC, our judge, Dolores Huerta,
Mm.
because those are all cholas to me too. Because
Mm.
also that image of chola, oh well, they're gang members. Well, some of them might be, some of them may not be,
Yeah.
uh, but they're warriors in the streets. In my opinion, that's
Sure. Sure.
chola is. And so for me, a modern day chola is the graduate, the first generation graduate of college.
Who
I
succeeded and made it there? Yeah.
Yeah, I was the first person to get my master's in my family. And it took me a while to actually write the thesis part of it. And I was like, oh, I'll get to it. And my dad, every year, Dad, what do you want for Father's Day? One page of your thesis. And I didn't quite get that. I'm like, whatever, whatever. And finally, this older veterano theater guy who was an academic said to me, Jamie, the reason it is so, or Lady Peacock, but my name's Jamie.
Do you
The
mind if that's in there? I
Oh,
can also
that's
adjust that. Okay.
fine. The reason why that's so important to your dad is because he didn't get a bachelor's. He had an associate's degree, so yes, he went up a little bit from what his parents were, but he didn't get a bachelor's, and he definitely did not continue schooling to a master's. So
Hmm.
you are the first person in your family, and I'm fourth generation Mexican American, um, that has that distinction. So it's important. And then I got it. I was like, okay, let me let me get this rolling here and write the thesis part so I can actually get the degree. And so I'm glad that I did.
The thing about and I want to deconstruct because obviously this is a hit single, as I call it. This is an act that has legs, that is getting a
Yes,
recognition. Um, and as someone who has also had hit singles of different levity or statement or what have you, um, you see this, and we see this as burlesque producers and aficionados. We see what resonates with our communities and what resonates with the audience. And because we live in a very scary hellscape right now in the United States, um, this is resonating I would interpret as defiance and resilience in the state of affairs that we're dealing with right now. And you also mention the Chola influence, where it's fascinating because I don't know, I think for some individuals, particularly in very privileged circles, they hadn't heard Chola until Lady Gaga said it in Born This Way, or they had an awareness of it. Some gay folks heard about it for the first time through Adore Delano, who was a fabulous drag performer who discussed that in their work. Um, and but but I remember when Gaga used Chola that there was some discussion about the representation and sort of the reduction of culture being brought to that acknowledgement. Not dissimilar to how she used the word Orient, not dissimilar to how I mean, it's also pop music. There's only so much brevity um, that a privileged white lady can talk about. And the incorporation also of the masculinization of your character, who's suddenly a trouser part in that discussion. I want to also parallel with your identity as Lady Peacock, because some folks may not realize a peacock is actually the male bird, because
correct.
female birds do not typically have the plumage
Correct.
that we associate with those birds. So every single time you see those adorable cardinals huddling together in those Christmas cards, that's actually two male birds.
Right.
And peacocks, you're not Lady Peahen, you're Lady Peacock. So can we talk about how the playing with the masculinity or playing with the gender expectations not only apply in that part specifically of Maria the Maid, but in your work in as a vast landscape as well?
Yeah, I think it's purposeful. My other act, I'm the Joker. I'm
Hmm.
not the chick Joker. Uh,
Hmm. See.
but I don't also I'm not in drag. I don't do drag. It's you see my boobs, they're
I
there.
see. Okay.
You
Uh-huh.
know what I mean? So it is a commentary on this, yes, this duality that I think we all have within us. Um, and so yeah, I'm noticing that a lot of my acts I do play a, a perceived male character.
Hmm. I
And
guess
it's
just more butch then, really. You
yeah,
would be the
yeah,
butch. Yeah.
yeah, a butch. And so it's just something I like to play with
Yeah.
and kind of put out there. And I think the audience can take it as they want or see it as they want. I'm not going to tell them how to feel about it, as I feel most good art doesn't.
Hmm.
Everybody's going to have their opinion, everybody's going to have their feel for it. What's important to me in all of the different things I do is when I do have audience members or even performers come up to me and say, thank you for your work. Thank you for representing me, whether that's a fat person, whether that's a Latina specific person, whether that's an older Latina woman who is for the first time maybe seeing herself on stage.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
those things are important to me. I don't know
Yeah.
if I quite answered your question or not, but
No, I mean it's all part of the package, isn't it?
yeah,
This is not necessarily a autobiographical piece, and yet it is still a personal piece.
yeah,
And I think good art and good work comes from authenticity. And I know that we also struggle. I'm curious about your opinion on this too, as a theatrical professional as well. When it comes to playing roles that are not 100% who we are as well. And if that is a version of mimicry, if that can be a version of appropriation, or if that's just acting. Because what a white person arguing online wants to say is that any act, it's called acting. That's what they want to say. So, but they don't want to say that when a black woman is playing Ariel. But they want to say it any single time that a
Right.
white guy gets, in theory, a black role. And right now, we're also just deconstructing. I mean, let's just get down to it. Right now, we're in the second week, the first full week after Charlie Kirk's death, where a lot of people are talking about how racist he was or was not, including discussion he made about three affluent black women who happen to not deserve their white slot in their professions, and how that is or is not racist. But yet he used the word white slot. So, what is your thought on acting in roles that may or may not really be, quote, our stories to tell, or if they are?
Well, I think it's a very tricky road, and I have dual opinions about it
Sure.
because I do feel that sometimes the best actor may not be the Latino actor for that role, or sometimes the Latino actor might be great for that police detective.
Hmm.
That doesn't
Hmm.
necessarily have to be any ethnicity.
Hmm.
Um, it's just very hard. And then sometimes I do feel that you need to have that experience.
Yeah.
Um, so like I said, it's sort of a dual thing for me. I mean, even going into my grad school, ACT, I was an alternate. We actually had a lot of alternates that year. But I found out, and I don't remember how I found out, that I was actually the person's place I was taking was a black woman, not a
Hmm.
Latina slot, because they did do that within ACT's company. They believed in having a full array of different ethnicities. Um, and so I was taking a black woman's slot within the 32 students. And
Hmm.
so I don't know why they thought we were interchangeable, but they did. And then also you're there for 2 years, the full class of 32, and then the third year you get cut down to eight. And I
Okay.
and I looked at the theater company, the actual professional company, and they already had their Latina character actress, and they already had their Latina ingenue actress within their company. But they had no Asian women in their
Hmm.
company, and we had three Asian women in my class. So I already knew that I would not make it to the third year,
Hmm.
that I would not make that cut because what they needed in the company, they didn't have within their structure of wanting to be multicultural within their company casting.
Hmm.
And so that was a good thing. I was just like, good, then I can just focus on my learning and not that third year. Though I ended up having a better third year experience, meaning professional experience, in that I got to play a woman born with no arms or legs due to pesticide poisoning that was very specific Chicana farm worker family.
Hmm.
So I had a huge thing to write my thesis on because this was conservatory. It wasn't academic. I didn't have to prove anything. So my thesis was basically a diary of how we created the role. So I had a lead role in a major theater company where some of my cohorts didn't have that experience, even in the
Yeah.
professional ACT big regional theater company. Um, so back to who should be playing what and whatever.
Yeah. And also, that doesn't have to necessarily be a direct line, particularly in burlesque, because burlesque is kind of its own thing as well, isn't it? Uh, versus movies, versus stage, versus TV, even.
Right. There's a local performer here who does an amazing, and I'm gonna say homage to Frida Kahlo. And I don't know her ethnicity. But it's an amazing piece. And I'm not gonna be all, oh, she's not Latina, so she should not be playing Frida Kahlo. The piece, how she does it, is amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's good enough for me. You know what I
Well,
mean?
there would be some people who would say, well, she also has to be a Mexican, doesn't she?
Yeah,
If you're
yeah.
going to play that, if you're
If you're
going
gonna
to go
if
there.
you're gonna go there, let's get real
Yeah.
specific. It can't even be, and to me, that's a little too over the top. You know,
Okay.
as long as we're giving respect and we're not making fun of someone's ethnicity in a derogatory way. Uh,
Hmm.
if it's respectful and pays homage to this great artist,
Hmm.
I think it's cool.
Well, even in Maria, who is an amalgamation of so many different characters, I think for a certain generation, we associate that sort of dowdy pink outfit with the maid on Family Guy or in sitcoms or things like that as well, where they may or may not be. To be perfectly honest, I don't know who does the voice on Family Guy, but I'd be willing to wager a high enough amount that it's probably Alex Bornstein, or that it's probably a white actress.
Yeah.
Um, and if only on the basis of the fact that Cleveland was not a black actor, and the basis that it seems to be the same six people over and over again. Um, and that's, I would say, not a glowing homage
Right.
to Latina women. Would you agree?
I would agree. Um, yeah, so I think I mean, everybody has their different opinions about it.
Yeah.
You know,
Since so many parts have to do with mockery of ethnicities or stereotypes or something like that, is it more of a statement when somebody who comes from that culture plays those roles that can be viewed as insulting? Is that a form of reclamation?
yeah, I think so because it is reclaiming that. And
Hmm.
that's what we did with my theater company. We
Hmm.
reclaimed those stereotypes and said, yes, here they are. Um, and some people don't get it. I remember getting a review for my theater company saying that we were misogynistic. I'm like, really? You really don't get what our commentary is.
Hmm.
As women, we're not,
Do you remember what the criticism was specifically about? What
no, I
was
don't.
anti-woman?
I don't.
Mm.
I just remember it being, that they just didn't like anything we were doing and it was misogynistic. And I was like, really? Okay, well, you haven't lived my experience as a woman, obviously, but you're entitled to your opinion. Um,
Are they?
maybe over there. No. Uh, um, so, and I think it's okay to reclaim those things. And like I said, but then show what the reality of that perceived um stereotype is.
Do something with it, really. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um,
Yeah.
and that's what I do a lot with now my burlesque career.
Mm.
And what I like about burlesque is that I can tell a story in 5 minutes,
Hmm.
or so, and that's how I approach it.
Hmm.
Based. Some people do not. It's all about parading and all that, which is beautiful and lovely. And actually, I'd like
There's
to
a
challenge.
story there.
Yep,
Sometimes, yeah.
yeah, yeah, and I would like to challenge myself to do that. Um, you know, and so, and I will one day at some point. I have a giant peacock wig that has yet to create the act. I have my photos in it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt, aka Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
Hi, I'm Jen Ponton.
And I'm Lillian Bustle.
And we're the hosts of All the Fucks, a podcast about vulnerability. But it's more than just that. It's nostalgia.
It's unrequited crushes.
It's the mortifying moments that make you want to crawl back inside your own belly button.
Ooh, and somehow it's sometimes about pelicans.
A pelican allegory, if you will.
Oh, I will.
So if your heart has ever felt like a skinned knee,
oh, you'll fit right in as one of our fuck buddies.
All the Fucks. A storytelling podcast wherever you listen.
I mean, I could see one of the reasons, perhaps, and this is me projecting, why that act hasn't necessarily come together for you is because that's such a visual clue that it's a signature act.
Right.
That's a lot of weight to put on.
Yeah, and maybe that is why.
Yeah.
I mean, I wear that wig when we do roulette, because I'm like, well, I gotta
Okay.
get at some point, you know. And so I'm like, okay, I'll wear it then. Or if it's a specific event and I'm just doing physical character work, like statuesque type stuff.
Yeah.
Like that. But yes, I know. I'm like, what is that going to be? I don't know. The
It
peacock.
seems like it should be like this big statement piece, like about who you are as an artist.
I
It's
know.
the it's
So after 10 years, it still hasn't happened because I got that wig on my 50th birthday because some one of my mentors, she said, "Oh, you need this wig." I said, "Yes, I do." But it's extremely expensive. And so I put it out there like, "Hey man, for my 50th birthday, y'all want to contribute to this wig?" Sure enough, most of my high school friends who kind of sometimes live a little bit vicarious through me, I started getting these $50 checks from them on my 50th birthday to pay for most of this wig. I'm like, yeah.
Mm.
But now, yeah, I got to create that peacock act.
Do you find that you are more likely to have costume first and then associate music and then
I
character, or
I think it's different every time.
every time?
Yeah, like my Bo Peep act. I have a Bo Peep act. I kissed a sheep and I liked it. Um, where I'm Bo Peep and I have six sheep. And
Uh-huh.
so the first thing that came was, okay, I want to do Bo Peep. I just want to do Bo Peep just cause. And
Just
so
'cause. Yeah.
I got the dress and I found this like pink and white, like almost church lady dress. So I had it for a long time before I found the music, and I finally just put in Bo Peep for
Yeah.
on YouTube. And I found this dude that actually plays an old school one man band. And so he literally had a piece, sort of like blues piece, little Bo Peep. Like, oh, well, here's the song, and we expanded it when we performed for Mile High Burlesque Festival and competed for Best Buds. And so there's a whole prelude where the sheep are hanging out getting high. And
Mm.
then they hear me, "Sheepy, sheepy, sheepy, where's my sheep?" And I come in, and then they're hiding behind all the bushes, and the bushes move as they move as I'm looking for them. And then they drop the joint, and then I get high, and then I'm like, "Oh, what's happening?" And they start coming out and start, taking off my clothes as I turn around. And then one kisses me, and I'm like, "Ew!" And then a thought bubble comes out, or a sheep with a thought bubble comes out and says, "I kissed a sheep and I liked it." And then I start getting hot and bothered, and all the clothes come off as they run by and take my clothes off.
Is there an act that is specific to, I don't know what you would refer to it as, but you have like the bullets that go in like the formation around your chest?
Right, that is my Adelita act. That is a newer act. Adelita is a historical Mexican character.
Okay.
They were called Adelitas, but it was based on a historical woman that um, they fought with the men in the Mexican Revolutionary War.
Hmm.
And so uh, my great grandfather, excuse me, also um, rode with Pancho Villa. So the story goes. And so that's my connection with that. But I wanted to focus on that these women were soldiers.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes they were just the nurses, and not just the nurses, but were the nurses and the cooks. But some of them also went undercover as men. to spy on the other side. And so I kind of meld that with a classic ranchera. Again, that's a Mexican folk music that tells the story. There's an actual song about Adelita, and it talks about the history of her. And then I always mesh my music. I never just have one soundtrack for the most part. Um, and so I meshed that with Sade's Soldier of Love.
A beautiful song on its own
Yeah,
and
beautiful song on
perfect.
its own,
Yeah.
but perfect with this. And
Yeah.
so
That
for
the
me,
drums, that rhythm. Oh, I love that song
yeah,
too.
yeah,
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it. It's good
it's just
stuff.
gorgeous. It's just gorgeous. And so this act for me is what I consider still in development. Yes, I've
Mhm.
performed it for festivals and for competition. Um,
These are
but
living pieces though. I get you.
yeah, I mean they're all I mean, even when I did Maria in Arizona, there was a new costume element. It's constantly changing.
Gotta.
You got it. Um,
Gotta.
so
Yeah.
yeah, so it's I would like to get that more up on its feet and also get that going too, uh,
Hmm.
with more people seeing it.
It's
Um,
funny you were so quick to expect possible ire that it was still in development. But no, of course, I would agree with you that anytime that I mean yes, we've all seen burlesque acts that look canned, but that's never a good thing. That's never like a I mean we can say polished, we can say tight or clean or whatever, but that doesn't mean that it's dead or that it's uh irrespective of the live element. Um, I feel that the most polished acts that still have weight to them and still have, energy to them are the ones that do play. You do need to just work with it just a little.
Yeah, and just find something new or different. I mean, I have my no matter where if I'm performing in a dank little bar, wherever, I make sure somebody's videotaping me
Mm,
every time because I want to see what worked for me, what didn't work for me, where my costume got stuck, or what the audience reaction is. Because sometimes, that was my biggest surprise when I first started burlesque. When I turned around and shook my big booty, how, the audience went wild. I was like, what? Oh, well, we're doing that every time. And my panties are going to have a bunch of stuff on them. Because, oh, you're excited by
yeah.
that.
Play with your strengths, yeah.
But to see what the audience reactions, oh, that didn't work. They didn't get
Mm,
that. I need to be more specific or change that up. Or, oh, I don't like the way that looks. It doesn't look
yeah.
like how it looks in my head. How can we modify it?
Be more
Um,
intentional. Yeah, I mean
yeah,
you're deconstructing it in a very theatrical way.
yeah.
So
Or
yeah,
sometimes, ooh, I'm playing around and ooh, that was new. I kind of like that. Let's keep that move.
yeah.
Or and so anybody who asks me to mentor them or whatever, I tell them that's the first thing I tell them. Record yourself every time. See what's
Yeah.
going on. Especially because we don't always have someone who's watching us and directing us that can let us know. It might be more forceful if you turned on this part of the music or whatever.
Hmm.
And so I do that for myself as I look at it and I go, that would be more effective if I actually rip that shirt off facing the audience as opposed to, you know, hiding it from them.
Well, if you're doing it like if you're in a show and you're in a live band and you miss your cue, in theory, the conductor will get the band to just play it again. Or they'll do like that dun 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 dun. It's like they'll help you, they'll work with you. But we're dealing with pre-recorded music and we're also dealing with choreography where we have gotten progressively more naked. So suddenly we can't go back. We can't go back to that moment before or try it again because it's already off. So
Yep.
we have
Yep.
to work with our skills to sort of be like, okay, well, let's just get through it now.
Well, that's why I love doing roulette when we get to do, and for those who don't know what burlesque roulette is, here in Colorado, Ooh La La, which was a troupe that I worked with, we would basically, all of the performers would send in two or three sets of music, and that would go in one hat. And then the performers' names would go in the other. And the audience would pick out Lady Peacock. And then the audience member would pick out track number 5. And so then the host would say, "Okay, Lady Peacock, track number 5. I still don't know what the music is." And they would only say 4 minutes,
Got it.
2 minutes, 5 minutes. And then sometimes we'd add a prop too, a random prop. The kitten would come out and bring us some crazy prop that we had to utilize. And I
Hmm.
like doing that because that keeps your chops up in terms of improvisation, so that when you're doing your act and something goes crazy wrong or you did something out of order, how do you recover from that?
Right.
'Cause the audience doesn't know unless you like make them let them know. Well, I'm totally messed up, you know.
Well, in improv, they I think they give you they give you some slack
Yeah,
because they also know that this is also
I know.
completely unexpected, and that's also part of the fun of it too, isn't it?
Yeah, that's sweet.
For them
It's great.
too.
I love doing it. I love doing it. I love doing it.
Yeah. I've done it, and I've done it in a number of different ways. Obviously, some shows that's just the theme. So in here in LA, or I say here in LA as if I live in LA, but here in Southern California, where there is LA, there is one show called Wheel of Burlesque where there is a actual roulette wheel, and
This is
we find out, but we get to listen in advance, and if we choose to, which I would say you should, listen to all of the songs just to have a vague understanding of how long they are. But the only thing is that inevitably I'm gonna be like, oh, I hope I get this one because I already have ideas. Oh, I hope I get this one because I have ideas. I'm like, well, that's not really improv, is it? Is
That's why I like when it's totally
it?
it's like totally, and sometimes, I'm not the biggest, music aficionado, and somebody will put in some wild punk song in there that I've never heard. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay. Nor do I, I'm not into punk that much, but you got to in that moment,
yeah.
you know,
You gotta sell it. You gotta sell it.
got to sell it. Like, okay, you know. And so for me, that's a fun way to keep my chops up too.
Um, in terms of the work that you do, off stage and on stage, you approached burlesque, if I did the math correctly, sometime in your 40s. Do you think that the wherewithal that you had in your 40s made you more prepared for some of the things that you would hit in burlesque than if you had tried it in your 20s?
Yeah, I don't think I would have been able to do it in my 20s. I don't think I would have had the confidence or the freedom to do it. Um, Primarily because of the weight issue, still being
Mm,
very self-conscious. And even as I went into it, I was like, one of my mentors always wore that little half corset. I was like, I'm
hmm.
gonna do that. I'm gonna wear the half corset. So my tummy's not showing.
Right. That what is that?
Because
A cincher or yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah,
Yeah.
like a little half corset. But my first act that I created was starting with Afro-Cuban movement and song. So I go from it's Lola Oshun. So I go in from Oshun, which is the goddess of the river and of love and
Hmm.
sexuality, into the ultimate goddess, whatever Lola wants. But at the beginning, I'm doing this Afro-Cuban movement. And as I'm watching the video, I'm like going, huh, with that corset on, I cannot do the proper Afro-Cuban movement. That
That's the
needs to
thing.
go.
Hmm.
So I had to get over that quickly and decide, well, are you gonna do this? Are you gonna do this and really practice what you preach about, body positivity, etc.? Are you gonna love your tummy and your hips? And then I started looking at some local performers who were thick girls. And I was like, when I watch them, I don't go, oh, she's fat. Ooh, look at that bulge. When I watch them, I'm like, look how gorgeous they are
Hmm.
because of the way they presented themselves and the confidence they had within it. And so I really had to stop and think, am I gonna jump off that cliff and really believe that I have that inner beauty as well? And
Yeah.
so it took me a little adjustment, a little even in my 40s.
And the outer beauty, let's not discount the fact that you still got going on. Like
Yeah,
it's not just what's inside.
that's
Let's be
right.
superficial too.
Yes, that's right. And you look at it, and I had to look back and go, well, I've never had a problem with getting lovers at this size
Well,
or a skinny size or a big size. So it is desirable. So, but really internalizing that, I think, took a little minute to
Yeah.
make that adjustment and to really believe it.
Yeah. And I've talked about this, but when I was offered the headlining Fatlesque role 2 years, not this January, but the January before, when Pucks mentioned it to me, I was like, I have to I had a little thought about it because I had sort of I that point had was the largest I ever had been in my weight. And I had never used fat as a self-describer before, and I was sort of like, okay, well, all right, Victor, what do you think about this? What do you feel about this? Because it's also in a celebratory manner. It's also in a we're all equal, so it's not exoticized or fetishized way. Okay. It's for us by us in those terms as well. All right. And it's a headliner position, Victor. You've never gotten one of those over here. Let's think about this.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you rather get the work for it? And I was like, okay, you know what? Let's go. Let's do it. And I have to say, even after I thought, because this will be by the time this comes out, this episode comes out, it'll be the week of my 19th anniversary in burlesque.
Wow. Fabulous.
And I preceded that with 6 years of getting naked or naked-ish on stage. I almost said Broadway. On stage at Rocky Horror every week, where my body did not look like this per se. It was a little more live, but it certainly didn't have the understanding that I have now of what my body can and cannot do.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, yes, I will be, I will take it. And but these things that we are as folks, we do sort of sometimes put ourselves in our own boxes. We like, we have a lot of gay or queer centric shows that's kind of the litmus test. We have POC shows, we have sort of the reverse DEI argument because we're saying, well, yes, but we also deserve all of these stages, and we want to make that part of the celebration, but also like a non-issue. You can't say, and our next performer is fat if everyone is fat. You
Right.
can't say, oh, and our next performer is trans if everybody is trans. Like it's no longer what makes us the different one in a larger show.
Yeah, I was really excited to do Fatlesque as a headliner. It was my first offer to ever be a headliner after 10 years. And I
And
had
you know what? Folks, listen to that. That's very important. Fat people giving fat people work. If
it's
you want to
right.
be allies, consider the fact that
Exactly.
it took that to get that.
And Puck saw the Maria act live at Colorado Burlesque Festival. She
Mhm.
didn't know me, and she was just like, "Hey, man, I want to bring you out." But I didn't quite get that. I didn't get what she was talking about as a headliner. Like that wasn't in my brain that I'm going to be a headliner at some point. And then I got the formal letter of invitation. I was like, "Oh, that's what you meant." And then I was like, "Oh, thank you for seeing me,
Mhm.
all of me, you
Yeah.
know." And so I was very proud and excited to be able to do that. And I
Yeah.
got to teach class there as well.
What did you teach?
Character-based class, of course, using lots of different movement-based characterizations and viewpoints, etc. Which again is using the physical body to create the character. Um, and so, yeah, I hope to be doing some more of that. I'll be doing a class in September here for one of the producers,
Very
uh,
cool.
your feature. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's like, how can I translate my acting teaching to burlesque? And does it work? So we'll find out.
I
Yeah.
think so. I mean, I've taught or just had discussions on characterization. I call it making faces. And basically being intentional, letting the audience in with you and saying, okay, well, we have those 5 minutes of a pre-recorded song, or if it has lyrics, those lyrics are doing a lot of the work for us. How do we play with them or against them?
Right.
Like, what are we doing? Are we that character that they're talking about? Or are we the person that is reflecting on that character?
Yeah.
I have an act in development right now that and it's interesting for me because it's an Eartha Kitt song where it has a lot of background vocals, the masked background vocals. I am the masked background vocals. I'm
Mm,
not the character that is technically singing. I'm the response to
right.
that. And that takes very different acting choices
Mhm.
because that song is basically about, oh, you must be this guy who's at this door. Well, guess what? You missed your chance. And the chorus is basically, but where's that woman I was here to see? I don't understand. Why are you telling me that she's not here anymore? And I mean I could play it as the yeah, I'm Annie. I'm not the one who's here anymore. Or I could play, but I'm looking for Annie.
Yeah. I love that. I love that
And I
contrast.
was like, I want to do this song, but I'm not Annie.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm the guys.
And it,
Okay.
and that's a good unexpected thing that the audience gets to experience. Like,
I
oh,
would
this
like to think so too. Yeah, yeah. And that's sometimes when a lot of times we discuss whether or not lip syncing is appropriate or something like that. I'm like, well, are you this narrator? Because if you're not the narrator, one, you shouldn't be lip syncing.
right.
That's baseline. I don't care what the voice sounds like. If you're not telling that story as that narrator, then you shouldn't be doing it in the first place.
Yeah.
Those aren't your lines.
Those aren't your lines.
Those aren't your lines. Now, if you are, then great. But if you're, I don't know, not Sally Bowles in that moment, you shouldn't be lip syncing Mine Hair. But
Yeah.
that's a hard one because I don't know anyone who does Mine Hair who doesn't feel like Sally Bowles in that moment. I don't know anybody. But that would be interesting, wouldn't it? To do Mine Hair as the hair. Could you imagine?
Crazy wild.
Someone do it. I don't
You'll,
know if
you'll,
I'll get to it first, but let's see. Well, I thank you for the opportunity to get to know you just just the barest minimal more. I look forward to sharing a stage with you again sometime soon. I'll make my way back to Denver.
yes, and
I'll
please
do it.
stay at Lady Peacock's home for Wayward Horses.
I'll do it. Denver's actually a really nice flight for me because it doesn't require two planes from where I leave. Because I
Yeah.
don't do LAX, I do a more local airport for me. But inevitably, that local airport requires to, like, for example, when I did um Arizona, I had to go to Phoenix first and then do another 23 minutes on
No.
a second plane.
And like we're
But
up.
if I was just, yeah, it's easier that way. Denver's just one shot.
Well, you're welcome anytime. We'll take you.
Thank you. I'll check things out. I know as in every scene and industry that there are some shows that I would be right for and some shows that I would not be right for. So if you have any recommendations, you also let me know.
I will let you know.
Excellent. Can you tell the folks at home the best ways that they can keep in touch with all of your goings on and where they might find you next?
Primarily Facebook. I'm old school that way. I do have an Instagram account, but I rarely use it. I let the producers use it. So yes, you can find Lady Peacock on Facebook.
Excellent.
And it has all of the things that I've been doing for the past 10 years.
Nice.
And that's pretty much it. Yeah, I don't do TikTok. I don't do all that. Too much work.
I get you. As we talk, we're nearing the end of September. Do you have anything exciting coming in the last 3 months of 2025? Can you imagine we're almost at 2026?
I know, right? Yes, I will be doing Maria the Maid at the Colorado Tattoo Convention. So this
Nice.
evening we're having a very specific burlesque show within the huge tattoo convention. So that'll be fun. So that's what's coming up next.
And you are tatted up. When did the that journey come for you?
That came during the burlesque journey.
Okay.
I had a wonderful friend who lived in Vegas, and it was a girls' trip. We are all like, okay, let's have our friend from high school, Helvis, but George, do our tattoos. I'm like, okay, I want a peacock, and I gave him a little drawing, and he's like, uh-huh, that's nice, and he threw it over his shoulder. And we began, and he's the type of, he was, I didn't realize he was a master tattooist who actually does not draw something and then transfer it onto you. He actually uses your body as a canvas and uses Sharpies and draws it.
Hmm.
So we started that weekend, and I came out with a peacock head, and he's like, "You ready to come back for some more?" And I'm like, "Okay," because I did not go in saying I'm gonna have a back piece. I'm gonna do a back piece. I was like, gonna get a little peacock. And so we started a collaboration of me sending him research, and I'm like, he is not reading all my research about the peacock and Oshun and the goddess and blah 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 blah. Yes, he was. And I think he liked doing it because it was more like his visual oil paintings. Because he was a
How many
master.
sessions?
2 years on and off. Because it was he was in Vegas, so I would go every three or
Yeah.
4 months when I could afford to do so.
Wow.
And go out during the week when it was cheaper to stay, etc. So yeah, it took us almost 2 years. And we would do 2 to 3 days at a time. But he kept going and I kept going. And he was very gracious with his time.
Hmm.
So I'm very lucky. And I forget sometimes in the summer, I get all like, why are you staring at me? And my friend's like, chill, man. You have a piece of art on your back. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. They're looking at it. They're checking it out.
Checking it out because
Has
it's
has
quite.
the peacock always been your power animal?
Not always. It just came, like I said, when I did that sort of home photo shoot after I had had this peacock dress on and this peacock painting, and then I started doing more research. And she does represent the goddess Oshun, which is an orisha of the river and love and etc.
Peacocks
Um,
are also there's a witchiness about them. There are
yeah,
people who find them to be unreliable because we don't know what those eyes are looking in
that's
from.
right. The eye.
And in fact, there's a whole sideshow community that does not ascribe to a peacock feather as being uh welcome on a stage. In fact, Coney Island has an anti-peacock peacock feather, I should say, request because it
Yes.
is considered like saying the Scottish play. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love theatrical superstition. Um, I think it's different when it's on your body, so I don't really know what to tell you.
Well, it's funny because, as I said, I teach in public schools and I teach art most of the time. And one day it was warm in the classroom, so I took off my sweater. I just had a tank top on so you could see my
Oh,
peacock
sure.
feathers, right? And these dudes, these, middle school dudes, gang boy wannabes come in and they look at me and they're like, "Hey, miss." And they're giving me the nod, and I'm like, "Hey, what up?" And every time I would go over to make sure they were working, they got a little scared and they were like, "Yes, yes, miss, we're working, working." I'm like, "What is going on?" So I'm constantly researching the peacock. And I guess there is some South American gang where the peacock is the emblem or whatever. And so I don't know if they thought I was some kind of, jefa of some
The,
gang or kingpin or
the
whatever.
gangbanger.
Yeah, I'm like, well, whatever works, man. You're either scared or you think it's cool. Either way, let's get to work.
Well, and that's another thing. That's an entirely different discussion about our American obsession with gangs and gang violence, but only the mob or Al Capone or like the noir white guy version of gangsters is appropriate. Everybody else is somehow, yes. Ah,
But yeah.
goodness gracious. Well, I appreciate again working with you and getting to know you. I hope that you know what, let's make Denver happen. Let's just
Yes,
put that out into existence.
good. And thanks so much for inviting me. And my pleasure. I love chatting all the time.
Excellent. Well, then I invite you formally to I have another project within the podcast where we talk. It's called The Music That Made We, where the guests come and they bring 10 songs
Wow.
that have influenced their work, their life, their style, songs their mother sang to them as a lullaby, songs that they did as their first act, songs that were playing during a heartbreaking moment, anything, however you take the assignment, but that would be in your memoir soundtrack.
Ooh,
Think on that. I'd love to have you back. I'd love to hear your perspective on what 10 songs you would bring.
I would love that. Yes.
Cool.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. Cool. Then, Lady Peacock, mwah, continue to thrive however that manifests. And I appreciate you very, very much bringing not only your work to stages, but also offering stages to those who need it. I have massive respect for every person who provides stages for entertainers and
Yeah.
artists. So thank you very, very much.
You betcha.
And be well, darling.
You too. See you
Thank you,
soon.
sweetheart.
Bye.
Bye. WEBurlesque the podcast, created, developed, and edited by Viktor Devonne. Podcast artwork by Logan Laveau. WEBurlesque the podcast cover art photography by Atticus Stevenson. Theme song, On a 45 by This Way to the Egress, used with permission. All incidental music via Pixabay under the expectation of fair use. Please visit WeBurlesquePodcast.com for notes on this and every other episode. Follow WeBurlesque and Viktor Devonne on just about every platform, and support the podcast via patreon.com/WeBurlesque. Don't got the cash? Please follow, subscribe, and give 5 stars on every platform you can get your hands on. It really does help. All original material is owned by Viktor Devonne and White Elephant Burlesque Corporation. All other materials property of their respective copyright. No infringement, while likely, is intended. This episode, and all episodes thereafter, are in memory of Lucky Charming. Miss you, friend. And that's it.
Woohoo!
Tonight on Murder, She Wrote.
Hooray!
Hey.
Yeah.
It's kind of Piper Laurie and Brenda Vaccaro at A Love Child.
Thank goodness.
I want to know
Those
her.
nails. Yeah, where's her series? That's what
She's
I want.
fabulous.
The son is Joaquin Phoenix.
I know, isn't that nuts? And he is an ugly little kid. I'm sorry.
We're just like, hey, remember when this guy was in this obscure Broadway show in 1976?
Right? Look at him in those tight pants. Yum.
Well, because there's not
But
a
we
lot
do
really
get-
going on. It's
Yeah.
supposed I mean, unless you're listening to the dialogue, which frankly, audience at home, you can do without us. We're just
Yeah, do
learning
your own
about
work,
some of these
damn it.
backstory. But
Right.
Boswell put her up to it.
Yeah.
And then Trish had to be killed because she realized that Boswell didn't have her interests at heart because Teddy was the inheritor.
Yeah.
Playing her like a fiddle.
Oswald knew it, and Trish just gulped it down like one of those martinis.
And then tossed it onto the law.
And then lost her head. Poor Trish.
Trish loses her head. This is Viktor Devonne.
And this is Petra Fried
And this is Tonight
on Murder, She Wrote.